Good evening. I'd like to call to order the special called meeting of the Board of Education for Independent School District 13, Tuesday, January 6th, 2015. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, again, welcome. Tonight is our organizational meeting, and the first thing that we have on our agenda this evening is the swearing in of our newly elected board members. So if I could get Laura, Grant, and Molly to all come over here for me, please. I will strip him and read and talk about the position itself and ask you to read after me, do it in one time. So, it's an honor that you were elected and appointed to guide the education of our community's children. As you recite the oath of office, you assume a tremendous responsibility as a director of our school district with the duties empowered by the Minnesota legislature. This power puts you and the other members of our school board in the position of being both morally and legally responsible for equitable, quality education of every student in the district. In carrying out this responsibility, you'll be asked to fulfill the roles of vision, structure, accountability, and advocacy, providing vision, the board with extensive participation of the community, visions the community's educational future, and then formulates the goals, defines the outcomes, and sets the course for the public schools. To achieve the vision, the board establishes a structure and creates an environment designed to ensure all students the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. Because as a board, we must be accountable to the community. We must ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement in all conditions affecting the education of our children. As board members, we serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students in our community schools to advance the vision for our schools. Furthermore, we must strive to work together and with the superintendents and staff to lead the district toward fulfilling the vision we have created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills and knowledge, citizenship, and personal development. Having signed the acceptance of office and oath of office, will you please publicly affirm your commitment by repeating the oath of office after me? I swear affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of school board member of Independent School District number 13 to the best of my judgment and ability. Congratulations and welcome. Sign something again.
After the board meeting, I did.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, welcome, and
Thank you.
it'll be exciting. The next item would be the approval of the meeting agenda. And one of the things that I'm going to try and do a little bit for the newer people is as we move forward, kind of explain what we're looking for on some of the items. So for example, on this particular item, we need to have a motion, a second, and then an opportunity for discussion prior to voting. So what I'm looking for right now for the approval of the meeting agenda would be a motion.
I'll move that forward.
It's
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Laura, second by Ted. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next, we're going to move forward with we're going to open nominations for the different board offices. Any board member can be nominated for any office. A nomination, just so you know, does not need to have a second. And each position will be voted on separately. So we'll start with the election of the chair. And nominations are now in order for the office of the chair. Do I have any nominations
The
for
Vice
chair?
Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
You know, as I reflected back on this is my 10th year going through having an organizational meeting and being part of that on the school board. The People's Board, which I think is a tremendous honor. Congratulations again for being sworn in on this board. I've thought back, you know, that this part of our year has not always gone smoothly and has not always gone the way that I think the community would want us to want it to go. I've heard our community members say that it's been a negative thing for chair elections to go on for months and months and months, as they have, unfortunately, on several occasions. And I completely agree with that. And I've thought back, why have the chair elections going on for so long? And I think it's because we haven't had equal opportunity for every board member to take their turn as serving as chair, if they wish to do so, and if they have the desire and passion to do so. This board, as I look back over my term, has had chairs who have served for 5+ years, 4 years, 3 years, all in a row, all being nominated by by the previous chair, and has not been reflective of equal opportunity in community. And this happens to many organizations, and we have an opportunity tonight to make a positive change to that and a positive reform. So I propose tonight that we do as so many organizations do and school boards do, and pass the baton to each board member who is willing to serve as chair by annually electing the current vice chair as the next chair, and then electing the next senior person to serve in the vice chair position, and rotating so that everyone has an equal opportunity to serve if they wish to in that role. It's a natural and logical way to take the focus off of all the negative things that have happened in the past and start afresh and not have the board on edge throughout the year, and to put the focus back on what's most important: our children, our students, and our community. And so there's a person who I know I've talked to privately and have gotten to know over the last few years, that I know has a passion for serving as chair, and has the ability, I believe, to do so. And I would like to nominate that person tonight. And so I'd like to nominate John Larkin as our chair, because he's the current vice chair, he has a passion, and I think that's all the qualifications we need to have a great chair. Thank you.
Are there any other nominations for the chair? Okay, I guess I'm gonna
Can I,
go ahead.
can I ask that we vote? We just have a voice vote and information
For the chair position?
position.
We can. I gotta go to continue the discussion that came up. I think there's a suggestion that the chair position be rotated, and I don't know that that's a good idea or a bad idea, but I don't know that's a decision that we can make tonight. It's not on the agenda as an item. I would certainly suggest to bring it to a work session, you know, and soon to have the discussion, but I think with the approval of the agenda as is, certainly the conversation is warranted, but to have that, for the assumption to be that that's going to be what we do moving forward without discussion and bringing it back as an action item, I don't know that we can do that tonight. I mean, we need to follow our agenda, is that correct? Okay, go ahead, Ted.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm not making that motion
Okay.
tonight. I'm just simply explaining why I think you'd be a great chair.
Okay, and I appreciate that. I just want to make sure for the audience, and if more for myself than anything, that is, if that's a discussion that takes place and that's a decision that the board as a whole makes to do, it needs to happen at a different time. So that was my only reason for clarification. And this is, just so you know, this is obviously the first time that I've had to do this, so I'm asking for a little bit of patience. But in preparing for this, I need to ask for nominations 2 more times to follow the format. So if I could, are there any other nominations for the chair? Are there any other nominations for the chair? If there are no further nominations, I'm going to suggest that the nominations for the office of the chair are closed. And go ahead, Ted, yes.
I move that we close nominations and have a unanimous vote for John Larkin as chair.
There's a motion, we need a second for that?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? We still need to do roll call? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay,
Congratulations.
thanks. The chair is me. With that done, I will move forward to the election of the vice chair, and I will follow the same format, which is nominations are now in order for the office of vice chair. Are there nominations for vice chair?
I don't have quite as eloquent of a speech as Ted, but I would like to nominate Member Landwehr for vice chair.
Okay. Member Landwehr's been nominated. Are there any other nominations for the office of vice chair? Any further nominations of the office of vice chair? Are there any further nominations for the office of vice chair? All right, if there are no further nominations, nominations for the office of vice chair are closed. At this point, we don't have a clerk. So Missy was our previous clerk, and actually Dawn is our clerk, so. Yeah, go
Can
ahead.
I
Yeah,
fill in?
sure.
Okay.
Can you fill in as?
Yeah, just to do the roll call.
Is that appropriate for
Dawn.
someone else to do that? or-
Oh,
I was
Dawn
gonna-
can,
I was
Dawn
just-
can do that.
I was
Okay,
just gonna
that's
ask
fine.
Dawn to do it.
That's fine.
Okay. Don't need a roll call?
Okay.
Okay. So then that position is filled, correct? Do I need to? Okay, so,
I think we still have to.
oh, that was right, the unanimous consent, okay. If there are no other nominations, we just have one person nominated, unless there's any opposition. I'm gonna propose that the vice chair position is filled by Member Landwehr under unanimous consent. Any opposition to that?
I think we need to vote and say aye.
Vote and say aye or not? He was saying we don't, but let's just for good measures. We'll do we need a motion and a second then for that? To do that vote? Okay.
Was that a motion? Yeah, I'll second that. We had
Okay.
the motion.
Okay, second. Well, we don't know, she nominated him and there's no
Oh,
other nomination. Make a
I'll,
motion, Laura.
I'll make a motion that we vote by
Unanimous
unanimous
consent.
consent.
Okay,
Yeah, I
you got a
can't speak
second?
today.
Second.
Second by Lori. Laura and then Lori. Okay. All right, we'll get this down yet. We got a couple more to go. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations, Ted is the vice chair.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the election of the clerk. We're gonna follow the same format. Nominations are now in order for the office of clerk. Any nominations for clerk?
I would like to nominate Lori.
Okay, are there any other nominations for clerk? Any other nominations for clerk? If there are no further nominations, nominations for the office of clerk are closed. And again, we have just the one nomination, so I guess I would ask for a motion for unanimous consent.
So moved.
Motion by Ted,
Second.
second by Laura. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Lori is the clerk via unanimous consent. Okay, on to the election of the treasurer. Again, nominations are now in order for the office of treasurer. Any nominations for treasurer? Laura,
I would like to nominate Molly.
Any other nominations for treasurer? Bill will walk you through most of that. You'll be okay.
It's a nice way of sliding in.
Any other nominations for the office of treasurer? If there are no further nominations, nominations for the office of treasurer are closed. And with just the one person nominated, I would ask for a motion that we approve this under a unanimous consent.
So moved.
Second.
Laura, and seconded by Ted. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations. Molly is our treasurer through unanimous consent. Okay, I'm gonna change packets here. The next is the appointment of parliamentarian and the adoption of Robert's rules. This is an appointed position. I guess I'd like to ask if there's anyone has an interest. I know, Ted, you were a parliamentarian last year, correct?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Any interest in, oh, here,
I
back
can
up. I'd
pass
like to make a motion for parliamentarian for Ted. Is it a motion or appoint, is
You're
it an
appointing.
appointment? Okay, it may be something you'd be interested in, or would you like to slide
I'd
it elsewhere?
accept it if that's,
Okay.
what the
Anybody
board
else have a
wants.
burning desire for it?
okay.
Okay. Okay, well then that, so, and that's just considered appointment then, Josh, on that? I know we have to do the motion for the Roberts rules, that's part of the motion, okay. Roberts rules, acceptance of, I need a motion to accept Roberts rules as our
Hi,
Rules
I
of
make a
order.
motion to accept Robert's Rules of
Second.
Order, newly revised edition.
yes, okay.
10th.
Motion by Laura, second by Lori.
Second.
Point of clarification, because, what?
We have the 10th. Okay,
Okay, so we'll get new ones.
Okay, new ones?
okay.
Okay, so for the 11th, newly revised 11th edition.
And it's a two-part motion, so if
Yep.
we're reading it on the bottom, we also have to have, and the appoint,
I
Ted.
read that and that's when I do that with that, right? After discussion.
Mhm.
Okay. So any discussion on the adoption of the Roberts rules and/or the appointment of the parliamentarian?
The only point I would make is if we could use, there are formal rules and informal rules. Since we're a small board, I would ask that we follow the informal rules, which are not quite as detailed as the formal rules, so wherever possible.
Okay. Care to weigh in?
That's certainly a thing, getting to the page, like, just kind of inform everyone on what that entails.
They're still part of Robert's rules, but they're just not as complicated as.
Kind of Reader's Digest version?
Exactly.
Okay. You probably don't know what Reader's Digest is, do you?
Yeah, so in small boards, boards of about a dozen members or less, there are some less formal rules, as Director Landwehr mentioned. Essentially, the small board rules are as follows. Members may raise a hand instead of standing when seeking to obtain the floor and may remain seated when making motions or speaking. Motions need not be seconded. There is no limit to the number of times a member can speak to a debatable question. Formal discussion of a subject is permitted while no motion is pending. When a proposal is perfectly clear to all present, a vote can be taken without a motion having been introduced, unless agreed to by unanimous consent. However, all proposed actions must be approved by vote under the same larger meetings, except that a vote can be taken initially by a show of hands, which is often a better method in small meetings. Chairman need not rise while putting questions to a vote. If the chairman is a member, he may, without leaving the chair, speak in informal discussions and debate. So some of these you've already been following, some of them haven't.
Is there anything that says that we have to go just one way or the other, or we can do the intermingling? The reason I ask is one of the things that I heard you say, and if I heard it correctly, that means that there is no call to question. You're saying it could go on?
That's not what I'm saying. There's no default limitation. Under a larger assembly, members can only speak twice on each question for up to 10 minutes each time.
Okay,
In a small board, there is no default limit.
got it.
The call to question is still.
Okay, so you, the debate can go as long, it's just the 2 times 10-minute thing is what that's
Yeah, there's
taken.
no default limit, the board can still end debate.
Okay.
Josh, could you mention, enunciate more clearly about the motions, a first and second? We've always done a first and a second. Would that eliminate that from this or not?
Under the small board rules, motions do not require a second, but as was just asked, you know, we don't fairly go all. Particular case, you feel it would be better to use the practice as larger assembly, but the rest of the cases, use the practices for a small board.
How would you separate or clarify that then? I mean, you have to change your motion, or by adopting Robert's rules, and I'm in favor of what Ted is suggesting, which is the Reader's Digest version of it, but in what you're reading, if that's the case, I mean, and again, it's been our practice is having a first and a second on stuff. No,
Motion would not need to be amended. Motion is to adopt Robert's rules as the parliamentary authority, its rules are part of Robert's.
okay, so that would be
Pass
something
it
that
as is then?
individually we would, what's that?
Then we would pass it as the motion reads?
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So is motion, go ahead.
And if I could just add, I do believe we do have the informal rules as part of one of our policies. So if we could just follow that, that's what I'm suggesting.
Okay.
So you're okay with the motion as
Yeah, I'm not
is?
amending the motion, I'm just discussing it, that's all.
And I'm sorry, who made the motion who made
I
the
did.
motion, Don? Laura did and Ted second? So it was motion by, no? For the. Meyer did, okay, so, motion by Laura, seconded by Lori to adopt Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised 11th edition, as the rules of order for the School Board of Columbia Heights Public Schools, Independent School District 13, except where modified by board policy, and appoint member Landwehr as the parliamentarian for 2015. Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Pass it. Okay. Next would be setting our meeting dates and times for the upcoming year. Did everybody get a chance to read the background? The regular meetings currently have been held at the second and fourth Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. with the exception of July and December, in which a meeting would be on the second Tuesday and there would be no meetings in July. It is recommended that the board set a meeting day and time that is convenient for the members of the board. It is also recommended that no new business shall be taken up by the school board after 10:45 p.m. except by unanimous consent of the board members. There will be the option of adding a work session. Work sessions have been scheduled the third Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. for 2014-2015 and would continue through June 30th of 2015. It would be recommended that the work sessions begin at 5:30 p.m. beginning in August of 2015. School board meetings would be held in the district community room.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ted,
Second.
second by Lori, to declare the meeting day and time for regular school board meetings shall be the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month with the exception of July and December, in which the meetings would be on December 8th. There will be no meetings in July. There will be an option of adding a work session on the third Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. effective August 2015. Work sessions would begin at 5:30 p.m. and that no new business shall be taken up by the school board after 10:45 except by unanimous consent of the board members. Board meetings will be held in the district community room. Any discussion on that?
Just a question, just the reasoning behind moving to 5:30, starting August.
Because we moved it because we had a member that needed to work later, and so we pushed it back, but we've been normally at 5:30, and I think we have some people that may work evenings and some people that may work days, so it's, and for staff as well, it'd be nice if we could move it up to the 5:30.
We bumped it back a half hour to accommodate for, some travel for work for
A
a
member
previous,
that's not here.
previous board member. So the suggestion, I think, is to take it back to 5:30.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, 5:30 works the whole year for me.
We already have it printed on the
Okay.
calendar.
All
That's
right.
why.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we get into the appointment of board representatives. And everybody has the blue worksheet, which is, you can take notes on that one, and the purple one is what's current as far as where things are. I know generally speaking in the past, the idea behind this is that in a perfect world, we figure out who our representatives are gonna be, and then we just pass it as a single motion. If there's any of the items that are up for discussion, or more than one person's interested that we need to take a vote on it, then we would pull those particular items from this, vote on the blanket ones. I don't, there's a different word for it. But slate, and then come back and address those. So, does everybody, I think you guys, more Grant and Molly, you've had at least the generic background as to what the different,
Yes.
what they represent, and you're familiar with what kind of commitment there would be with those? Okay. Start with the easy ones, I guess, as far as maybe we'll just go down the list here. And this is okay just to ask if people have an interest, okay. The MSBA Legislative Liaison, Laura previously was on that. Is that someone that has an interest in that? Burning desire? Okay.
I would if Laura doesn't want to do it.
Go ahead. I'll be fine.
Anybody else have an interest in that? ECSU, Lori previously. Want to keep it?
It doesn't matter if somebody else wants to learn about ECSU, otherwise I will.
And just for the audience, ECSU stands for,
Educational Cooperative Services Unit.
Unit. Very good.
very good. And what kind of involvement, or what's involved with that?
There's basically like an annual meeting, and there's some newsletters and things that occasionally come through, and then there's an annual meeting towards the end of the year. It's not a large commitment at all, so.
Okay. You want to hang on to that one if nobody else is
I will,
jumping
unless
on?
someone else wants to go and learn about, there's some interesting stuff, and services that they provide for our district. If you guys want to go learn about it, it's up to you. Otherwise, I'll keep it.
It's pretty informal.
I can do it. That's
Sure.
fine.
Okay, Grant. Okay, State High School League. That was me currently. There's, generally speaking, there's one meeting, late spring, magazines that you get, and actually last year there was actually a second meeting that they called just based on some things that were going on, but, informative, to say the least, but not a lot of commitment with that as well. So if somebody's interested in that, I know you had kind of talked about that. Yes?
I can if you're not.
I have no burning desire either
Go
way,
ahead
so.
and do that.
Okay, so Molly, is anybody else interested in the State High School, Minnesota State High School League? Yeah. Okay, ties. Looks like Missy was there previously. Just for clarification for everybody, the way that's been involved with that, if I remember correctly, there's a meeting or two, and then the conference in December. Does that sound right?
There's an annual meeting, and then there's the conference in December, essentially.
Okay. No, unless somebody's really interested, I would be interested in looking at that one. I've
Ties
had
is
nothing to do with that
Very
one.
cool, very cool. I have done it, and I think it's a good idea if all board members serve on ties.
Anybody else?
Absolutely, I agree.
Arm
Ties
wrestle
is
for it?
fabulous.
Okay, so it'll be
You have to
me.
tell us what you learned, though.
I can do that.
Oh, we should all go to the meeting, the conference. It's unbelievable. It really is.
For WEMAP, currently, Ted is our representative. I know that this is one of the spots that in the past that there's, you know, I don't know what the right word to use with WEMEP is, but busy and lots of stuff going on. And I know that there's been conversations in the past, and I guess I would defer to you to ask Ted, you know, is that something that would be an easy step for someone to go, or, you know, are you thinking that where they're at with trying to decide what they're gonna do with all this stuff, that some, I don't know what the word is, but consistency is a good idea, or?
Looking for consistency and they would like the current board members to come back and, because we are in the middle of some very major strategic decisions.
Okay,
And the WEMAP board had 7 board members turn over last January, so they really are looking for consistency this time.
okay. And I guess at this point, unless somebody's, feels really, really strongly about it, I mean, I'm not opposed to leaving Ted there for now, till things, I mean, I suspect there's gonna be some definitive answers coming out of that organization sometime this year.
That's what we're hoping to. We're
Yeah.
shooting for that.
Okay. Anybody else have any concerns about that? Is that okay?
Mhm.
And 916, I know that Laura's currently on that, and I know that just in conversations that there's some same or similar taking place there right now, as far as some, in the near future, things that are going to be addressed or need to be addressed.
Yes.
And again, I guess my suggestion would be, at least for this year, that based on some of that information, that my suggestion, if somebody's really feels differently about it, I'm more than willing to listen, but to leave Laura in that spot right now. She's kind of seated in and in the know, if you will, as to some of the things that are taking place. Would there be any strong opposition to that at this point? I think I'd like to see down the road, you know, opportunities for others, but just based on some of the stuff that's taken place right now. Is that okay?
Makes sense to me, unless
That's fine.
Laura has an objection.
I love serving on 916.
Yeah.
I find there's a lot of good work that we do over there. So, and then so much of it is so mysterious. So
You
I'd love to
definitely bring us
it
back some good information, so I'd like to see you continue
Yeah.
if you're good with that.
Yeah, well, they like consistency on that board. I mean, it's a board, it's not a liaison position. I mean, you participate in all the stuff that's going on, so, yeah. We got a couple of things that are going on that actually at our next meeting, I wasn't able to report out on 9/16 because I didn't have a voice at our last meeting. So I'm going to report out on that at our next meeting.
Okay, well, unless there's any other opposition, we'll leave Laura there at this time. As far as liaison to the city of Columbia Heights, that was Missy. We've got that, Fridley, in the city of Hilltop. There's, in all of those, I don't think that there's a ton of commitment, but I mean, it's at least letting people know we're there. And
I like to take the liaison for Columbia Heights.
okay, anybody else interested in Heights? Okay. And for Fridley and Hilltop, I know Fridley was Scott. Unless somebody really wants to do it, I would be willing to take Fridley. Of course, you had Hilltop last year, didn't you?
But I enjoyed Hilltop. I learned a lot about Hilltop I didn't know by attending some of their meetings, so
Okay.
I'll continue with that
Want
one.
to stay with Hilltop? Okay, does anybody else have an interest in the city of Fridley? That sounded
It's a
bad.
great city.
Yeah, sorry, that sounded bad. Being the liaison for the city of Fridley. Sorry, Fridley. And then Lori's expressed an interest in staying the liaison for the city of Hilltop. Is that
Mhm.
no big deal then? Okay. Then we've got the school board policy subcommittee, and I don't know, I have a suggestion, and I guess unless somebody's strongly opposed. I know when I first got on the board, one of the things that was suggested to me is that as a new member, that I sit on that policy subcommittee. It's an opportunity to get exposed to a lot of the different policies as they're either reviewed or revised, and my suggestion would be that both Molly and Grant sit on that. And then I would, it's been 2 years since I've been there, so I would be interested in sitting on it again, if that would be okay with everybody.
I would like to do that.
Are you comfortable with that, Grant?
That's fine.
Yeah, I think we've usually rotated it, so
We
that would
have,
be a
yeah.
good
Yeah.
rotation.
So we'd be looking at for the subcommittee, Grant, Molly, and myself. Then we've got the Association of Metropolitan School Districts. I know Scott previously did that. I was looking at that, is that Saturdays?
No, it's Friday mornings.
Fridays.
Okay, because the calendar had the one that I was looking at had everyone on a Saturday.
They're always on
Okay,
Fridays.
well, that's what I had thought, but
Mhm.
whichever sheet I was looking at, it was like said January 11th, February 7th, and I'm looking at my calendar going, God, it's 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning, but
No, it's 7 o'clock on
it's
Friday, trust
Fridays.
me.
That's a little easier to deal with.
It's the
so.
first Friday of the month.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Mhm.
I'll have to look for where I saw that, but, interest in that from anyone?
I can't. I just can't.
I would be interested in doing it.
Okay, I have an interest in it, I run into a conflict at 7 o'clock on a Friday morning, and it's not my pillow, I have, just getting my kids to school and things like that, so otherwise I would have an interest in it, but if you're interested, Lori, I would be,
I am, so.
okay. Anybody else? Okay, and then we are to the Columbia Heights Business Council. Laura, that was you last year?
I would actually like to do that again, if that's possible. The timing works out well for me.
Talk about what that is again, so that people
That
understand.
it's the business community. They bring in, it's Chamber of Commerce kind of meeting, where they bring in, different speakers, we had MnDOT, been over there a bunch of times. The school comes in, does presentations and things like that. And then we meet with the community leaders, the mayor is there.
And I've been to
And
those
it's
meetings as
a
well.
Friday, for the
Yeah.
first Friday of the month. It's at I think it's 7:30 in the morning?
7:30.
7:30 in the morning. Works out good for me because I get my daughter on the bus and I got 15 minutes to get there. So,
Now, is that something, and obviously we are establishing a liaison for that, but is that something that others can attend as well from the board if they wanted to, or is it
We only have
best to
one liaison.
just send the one?
But
Right,
if people are in the community or members of the business community, there's lots of reasons for people to be there.
right,
But there's one board
one board
liaison.
liaison.
Mhm.
And it's open to everybody.
Yeah, okay. And then Laura's expressed an interest. Is there anybody else that would have an interest in being the liaison for the business council? Take that as a no. So that would be Laura. Okay. And now this one would be, we could do this all at once then, right?
Mhm.
Okay. I gotta go to
Motion,
the
right?
page. That's this one here.
Page 10.
Got it. So what we're looking for now would be, since we have the positions, is everybody familiar with where everybody's at, or would you like me to repeat them, or comfortable?
That'd be
I
a good
mean,
idea.
Okay. I know Don will be providing it as well, but currently, for appointment of board of representatives, the MSBA legislative liaison would be member Landwehr, ECSU would be member Nichols, Minnesota State High School League would be member Lewis, Ties is member Larkin, WEMEP is member Landwehr. 916, member Palmer, liaison to the city of Columbia Heights, member Nichols, liaison to the city of Fridley, member Larkin, liaison to the city of Hilltop, member Meyer, and then on the school board policy subcommittee would be Molly, Grant, and myself. Association of Metropolitan School Districts, member Meyer, and then the Columbia Heights Business Council, member Palmer. So I would be looking for a motion and a second to approve that list as
So moved.
stated. Motion by Ted,
Second.
seconded by Lori to approve the Board of Representative appointments as stated above. Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
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 All opposed? Say nay. Okay, passes. Okay. Moving on to, the liaisons for the schools. Currently, we have in effect until June 30th of 2015. On the blue sheet, you can see there's where the positions, how they're filled. We have two, current openings, Highland and the Family Center, and I think in a perfect world, if we could, at least through June, figure out between the two of you. You can flip a coin, or,
Got it.
okay,
We just
can I
decided.
help you out?
What's that?
What do you want?
Oh, I'll do Highland.
Okay, so you're comfortable with that, then? So what we would be doing through the June 30th of 2015 is, Molly would be taking over as the liaison for Highland, and Grant would be for the Family Center. And we do the other ones now too, before we do the motion, correct? Okay, so then we need to look at effective July 1st, 2/15 through the 30th of June 30th, 2016. So at that point, the schools, are open, all of them would be open. We have preferences for moving forward?
I'd take Valley View. It's been a while.
I'd like to do the high school if that's possible.
I'm not hearing that.
Anyone else wants to do that, though? That's fine.
We got Highland, Columbia Academy, North Park, and the Family Center.
I'll do North Park. I know it's only been 1 year, but there's some stuff going on over there that I'm interested in.
I'll take Columbia Academy.
Lori,
Well, I haven't had the family center. How about, I'll do that one.
Family Center?
Sure.
Okay, and then I'll take Highland. Okay, so for this, we are gonna be looking for a motion where we're replacing, Molly will be taking Highland and Grant will be taking the Family Center through June 30th of 2015, and then effective July 1st, 2015, through June 30th, 2016. The high school would be Molly, Highland would be John, myself, Valley View would be Ted, Columbia Academy would be Grant, North Park would be Laura, and the Family Center would be Lori. And if I could get a motion and a second for as stated above.
I'll move that forward.
I'll second.
Motion by Laura, seconded by Grant to approve the board school liaisons as stated above. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Next up is the salaries and per diem for board members and officers. In your packets, there is a breakdown. I guess maybe I'll look for a motion in a second, I'll read it, and then we can have discussion if that's okay. Can I do it that way? Josh? I can just ask for a motion in a second, and then read it, and then have the discussion after that. So if we, to open up the discussion, could I get a motion to set the 2015 salaries?
Well, I'll move that we set the salary at the $400 or $500 a month as last year,
As stated.
$100 per diem.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so a motion by Ted, seconded by Lori, and to set the salaries, set the 2015 salaries for all board members at $500 per month, to establish additional compensation for board officers as follows. Is that correct then? The chair,
Chair.
$100 per month, and furthermore, that all members of the board may receive per diem payments over their salaries established by the Board of Education for meetings of NSBA, MSBA, mediation sessions, and such other meetings as may be approved by the board, and which will take the member away from his or her regular obligations of the regular workday, or which are held on a Saturday or Sunday. Said compensation for the per diem payment to be, it's $50 per day for up to 4 hours, and $100 per day in excess of 4 hours. Okay, so that's been, motion and second. Any discussion? No discussion, then I'll ask all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Passes. Okay. Let's get to listen to somebody besides me. The next is the designation of depositories, and this will be a resolution. Recommended depositories are included suggested in the resolution. Our presenter is Bill Holmgren. Happy New Year, Bill.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Chair Larkin, members of the school board, Superintendent Kelly. Yes, each year we need to make a designation of our depositories, and you'll see that we have a list and a resolution form before you. Some of these banks we only use just to transfer money through. For an example, on your first small list, for example, U.S. Bank, what they do is take care of our bond payments. LaSalle National Bank, that's a bank that the Minnesota School Liquid Asset Fund moves their money through them to us, because they're not a bank themselves. Northeast Bank is, of course, the main bank that we use for all of our transactions on a monthly basis. And Wells Fargo takes care of our trust, for our OPEB trust. The second small list, these are brokers that we use for our CDs when we invest any excess money that we have. We have listed E-Trade on there. We need an account there. We actually have somebody who called me here just the other day, and they wanted to donate stock to us, and we didn't have a way to do that yet. So this account is only open to receive stock and then liquidate it. So we're not going to be doing any trading or anything like that, but we'll just have a brokerage account where we can receive stock and liquidate it. So I just need you to pass that resolution.
I'll be looking for a motion and a second to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ted, second by Laura to approve the adoption of the following resolution. Resolution designating depositories, be it resolved that the following be designated as depositories for certain monies of this school district, and as such are authorized and directed to honor and/or pay checks or orders when signed by the treasurer and the clerk for withdrawal or transfer of funds on deposits in said bank in whatever form: LaSalle National Bank, U.S. Bank, Northeast Bank, Columbia Heights Branch, Minnesota School District Liquid Asset Fund Plus, Wells Fargo. Be it further resolved that the following investment brokers are hereby authorized and directed to honor orders when signed by the treasurer and the clerk for the withdrawal or transfer of funds on deposits in said instructions in whatever form: Morgan Stanley, PMA Financial Network, E-Trade. Be it further resolved that in case such deposits in the designated banks shall at any time exceed $250,000, said depository shall immediately furnish bonds or securities in lieu of bond according to law, and the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, Minnesota, or any of the other aforementioned depositories are hereby designated as the place for safekeeping for all securities furnished in lieu of such bond. Any discussion?
Just want to ask, these are the depositories and brokers we've traditionally used for the district?
Yes.
Okay.
The only one that is different is the E-Trade account.
Okay.
We're looking at the E-Trade account because the person who actually wants to donate stock to us has the E-Trade account, so it's just easier to transfer there and liquidate it.
Any other discussion or questions for Bill?
Are we going to keep this account open after that? Or, I mean,
Well,
this doesn't
I
come
think
up
we
that
would
often.
probably leave it open as with a zero balance, as long as we're allowed to do that,
Okay,
for anything that would come up like that in the future.
okay.
Any other questions or discussion?
I guess what's the purpose of the bond? If it deposits exceed 250,000?
Well, the purpose is if that particular bank would have a problem and go bankrupt, the bond protects protects our deposit, because the federal government only protects the accounts up to 250,000.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Good question. Any other discussion? Okay, being that this is a resolution, I'm gonna ask Dawn to
We have
call the roll.
Lori will
We
do
have-
it now.
Huh?
we have a clerk.
Oh, we do have a clerk now. Never mind. Who's our clerk? Lori.
That'd be me.
All right. We were worried if one of the new people got it, that they might not know what to do. All right, being that this is a resolution, I'm gonna ask our newly appointed, elected clerk, Ms. Meyer, to read the roll.
Landwehr,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
Larkin,
Aye.
Palmer,
Aye.
Nichols,
Aye.
Meyer, aye.
Passes. Bill was wise enough to remain where he was. Next would be the designation of electronic transfer designees. The board will be asked to appoint designees in processing electronic transfers, and our presenter again is Bill Holmgren.
Again, we need to designate who is allowed to do electronic transfer for the school district. FAN 2, our district accountant, is really our employee who does most of that. What happens is she sets up the particular electronic transfer, and then I sign off on that. But in a case where she might be gone, I would still have the authority to move the money if we needed it. So just the two of us is all we need.
Okay. Looking for a motion to appoint Bill Holmgren and District Accountant Fan 2 as the designees in processing electronic transfers.
I'll motion.
Motion by Grant,
I'll second.
second by Laura. So a motion by Grant, second by Laura, to appoint Bill Holmgren and District Accountant Fan 2 as its designees in processing electronic transfers. Any discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Bill's still up. Okay, next is the designation of legal counsel and contacts. Board will be asked to appoint legal counsel and contacts, and the presenter again is Bill Holmgren.
In the past, we've had 3 different law firms that we designate to work with us as legal counsel. As you see there, Karen Keppel is our expert when it comes to our employment law. Laura Tubbs Booth, she is our expert when it comes to special education law. And then Joseph Langle is our contract expert. And my recommendation is to continue to use these 3 firms as our legal counsel.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Laura motion,
I'll second.
second by Molly. So motion by Laura, second by Molly to appoint Karen Keppel, Laura Tubbs Booth, and Josh Langle as its legal counsel designees. Contact shall be school board chair and superintendent and or her designee. Any discussion? Ted?
Just a question, if there is a conflict of interest for using a particular attorney, do we have the option of using another attorney from a different firm?
Well, I would say yes, we certainly don't want a conflict of interest.
Okay,
Yes, the board's always got the authority.
so we're not
We're not
wedded
tied
to
to
any
them forever.
particular firm?
No.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. That was the legal counsel. Next up would be the designation of the election clerk. The board will be asked to appoint a designee for election clerk. And our presenter is Superintendent Kelly.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members. Before you have a motion to name Dawn Hoyam, the designee, again, as our election clerk. She's been trained and has been doing it since 2007, and administration would recommend that you consider to reappoint her again this year.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ted, second by Laura to appoint Don Hoyam as its election clerk designee. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Passes. All right, next up would be for the designation of our official newspaper. I'll let you go through the spiel, Bill, if you want. Do you and Casey, or do you want me to read this, the recommendation, or you want to just talk about it?
Well, first of all, I like to recommend that we continue to use the Sun Focus as our legal newspaper. We need a newspaper that covers our area, and, by far the majority of our residents get this information on a regular basis, and that it would also be published on a weekly basis. They've treated us very well. They respond to us very well. So my recommendation certainly is to continue with the Sun Focus.
Start by motion to approve them.
I'll motion.
Motion by Grant,
Second.
second by Lori, and that would be, hang on. Motion by Grant, second by Lori, to designate the Sun Focus as the official newspaper for the Columbia Heights Public School District's official publications. Any discussion or questions? Ted?
Yeah, if I understand correctly, or remember correctly, the Sun Focus is the only paper that covers our entire district, right? So we do obviously need to cover the entire district.
Yes, that's actually correct.
Okay.
And Member Meyer wanted some additional information, and it's in the packet.
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Casey, for getting that information for me, because I have had people ask me questions on where they can pick up the paper, so thank you for.
You're welcome. And I also did some additional follow-up, excuse me, regarding anybody who does not receive a newspaper, that they have set scheduled routes. They do not have 100% coverage, which is why they have those different drop-off points. However, if anybody is not getting a newspaper or wants to, I have a phone number here, which is 763-424-9376. And they'll get you on. And they also mentioned that they do not deliver to apartments, condos, trailer parks, or townhomes.
Yeah, thank you.
Grant?
Just want to mention that they also, at the Columbia Heights Library, they also hold them a big stack. So if anybody wanted to pick up the Focus, they could get it there too.
Casey, is this a list that would somehow be available if somebody had a question? I mean, you obviously has a list of several different places that are drops for them. Is that
Sure.
suggestion or?
Most certainly. There are 14 different locations, 5 in Fridley. It doesn't appear that we have one right over by North Park, 9 in Columbia Heights and 1 in Hilltop. And yes, I'll just have to figure out where the most logical place to put
Maybe
it.
we'll just start with, I'll just read through them really quick, and if somebody has additional questions, I mean, they certainly are welcome to contact one of us. But in Fridley, you got Bob's Produce, Fridley City Hall, Fridley Community Center, Fridley School District, Fridley Liquor Store on 6289 Central Avenue, and in Columbia Heights, here at the school district. Crestview Lutheran Home has them. Top Value Liquor at 4950 Central. Top Value Liquor at 2241 37th. The Columbia Heights Library, as mentioned by Grant. Columbia Heights City Hall at 590 40th. Immersion Hall. City of Hilltop has them, and then Sarah's Tobacco Shop at 4329 Central are the ones that are listed as places where they drop additional ones. So, and then again, the number that Casey gave for if you're not getting them and you would like to get them delivered, that was the number you could call, correct?
Yes, sir.
I think they actually have it online too.
They do.
They do.
Yeah, I don't know how it compares to the actual paper one. I mean, if it's exactly verbatim or not.
It's not 100%. I monitor it every day. I'm obviously always looking for news about the school district, but they do a really good job.
I think the legals are online, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, online, yeah, okay. Yeah, and and I think you've done a nice job, but I think the Focus over the course of the last year has done a nice job of making sure that's the positive things that are happening in our district, in our community are getting mentioned. So, I certainly am comfortable with having them be our official paper.
And the official notice is that we do have to publish her in the legal section, I should add that.
Correct.
I think it's the only paper that does have legals. I don't think Northeastern does anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, any other discussion or questions? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
you.
both of you. Okay, it's not on here, but I'll throw it out there. Anything for the good of the board? I don't know, like, we
Happy
can't even
New
do that, can we?
Can't do that
We
tonight.
can't do that, never mind. It's a special call meeting, I apologize for that, okay.
Go Heights.
All right, yeah, okay. All right, I guess we'll adjourn our first official meeting of 2015 at, we'll call it 9:04. Wow, that was wimpy.
Come on.
Okay, there we go.
There you go.
Gotta get a feel for it.